Hey Ian, you ready?
You bet I am. What are we talking about tonight? And talk about guns?
If it's not a 30 cal, I'm not in.
Jeez, mate, that's not very inclusive. Have you seen Jonno?
Hey Jonno, you ready?
Well, God knows where he is, mate. He's probably caught up in the neighbour's wire again. You ready to go? Let's do this.
Mate, I'm ready. Let's crank it up.
Righto then. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Hunters Campfire, where we're going to talk about all things hunting and the great outdoors. And we'll probably throw in a few tips along the way.
You want a tip? Say it once, say it 1,000 times. Goats love rocks.
Or a few things about deer. Mark, what do you reckon about deer?
As a deer hunter, I love hunting pigs.
Well, that's about as useful as I expected it to be. Oh, check it out. Here comes Jonno. He's being chased by the neighbour's dog.
Okay guys, let's get this started. Welcome to the Hunters Campfire. Pull up a chair, get comfortable. It's time for the Hunters Campfire. Good evening, guys, and good evening to you, Ian.
G'day, mate. How you going?
Very well, thank you. And Jonno?
Good evening, Mark. How are you going this evening?
Oh, pretty good. And with us tonight, we have Clen and Scott from Beretta Australia. And that's my phone making that horrible noise in the
All
background.
of our phones going off at once. How
What's
are you?
going
On mute.
Joining
That's
us.
a good start.
It's like I did it on purpose.
So he's already sending text messages about it going. So over the past few weeks, we've been talking about some of the new Steiner and Beretta gear, and we thought the best thing to do is talk to the guys at Beretta. And as I was having, or actually before I was having that conversation, or maybe during that conversation, Scott was sending me pictures from a hunt in Africa. And I thought, well, we've got to talk about that. So, guys, we're going to bend your ears about your hunt in Africa and want lots of details because we get a lot of inquiries about hunting overseas. So the more we can let people know about what you did and how you went about it, that'd be great. But before we jump into that, we'll do a quick around the traps. If there's anything new we want to discuss, I have got something new I want to talk about, but I'll let one of you guys go first. So, Jonno, what about yourself? How's that news Benelli treating you? Are you?
It's good. It's beautiful. It's sitting in
Have
the
you been
safe. I haven't been out yet.
Yeah.
No, so
Yes.
I haven't been out. Hopefully to get out on Friday afternoon for a quick shoot. So
It's got nothing to do with the weather.
No, he's just
No.
been on the couch
Not-
watching romantic comedies with it.
no, unfortunately, I'm getting some renos done at home, so I'm been busy trying to get stuff sorted. And still got a few weeks, but hopefully I'll get out on Friday afternoon. That's the plan for a quick shoot. So
Friday,
I've actually
Arvo.
left my calendar open. Friday, over.
Oh,
Mm.
I was just talking about
If you're
maybe
coming
hitting
down-
Brisbane Friday afternoon. I might have to put the gun in
Yeah.
the boot and come down and have a couple of rounds with you. That'd be cool.
If you
Yeah,
can get
I-
side, that'd be good.
Yeah, well, it's not far, mate. Once I've travelled 200 Ks, an extra 30 is not a big deal for us country folk anyway. Apparently it's hard enough for you two to catch up and your near neighbours. It'd be worth doing it, though. I spoke to the guys at my club about that Benelli. So for those that haven't heard, John has picked up the 828U. It's a hell of a nice looking gun.
It's
Really
beautiful,
keen to put it through its
absolutely beautiful.
paces. But yeah, I was showing a few pictures around the local club, and people are very, very keen to have a look at it. It's very sleek looking. So yeah, get it tested, get it out there, and then get your ass up the hill. It's going to be fun. I look forward to shooting against you. My world's been shotgunning all week as well. Everything's to do with shotguns right now. Hendo, who some of you know, is picking up the gun and is starting to shoot alongside me down the club as we've picked it up again, and he's just picked up his silver pigeon. So we're just going through the process at the moment of getting that all worked out for him and a few modifications, centre beads and the like. So we'll be down there tomorrow afternoon for a practice for anyone that's in the Toowoomba region. Pop down, practice tomorrow afternoon. We'll have a bit of fun down there. And then there's a big Commonwealth Carnival up here in a couple of weeks. So everyone's getting ready for that. So it'll be interesting to stand up in the crowd at the Commonwealth Carnival, step back a few metres and see what it's like. So, yeah, it's a good time. The other thing, Mark, I was going to talk about was pretty much, again, I was saying everything's about shotguns at the moment. We're about to launch our new shotgun series that we've started. I was lucky enough to head down to the Beretta headquarters, Beretta Australia headquarters the other month it would have been now, and we've put together a really cool series of videos for those that are getting into shotgunning and just trying to figure out what to buy and what type of guns and what's available out there and where they should start, how to clean stuff, how to, just how to look after the gear. So just look out for that. The first round of those videos will probably hit our channel in the next couple of days, or by the time this launches, there'll be probably 2 episodes up for you to have a look at. So go and check those out. It's been a lot of fun making them, so hopefully it resonates and people enjoy the watch. So that's been my week, Mark. What's been
So
up?
we've got competition gun selection and gun fitting in the pipe. Okay, very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, it was
fitting.
It was
Who did you fitting, Jonno?
What's it?
Neil or?
No. I came down and Neil did the fitting. So I spent probably 2.5 hours with Neil just talking through the difference between a traditional trap gun and a step rib, and whether I should get one or the other. They wouldn't let me leave with both, so I had to choose. And I was actually really keen. I was absolutely sold on getting the step before I arrived. I've shot with a traditional gun before and enjoy it. It's absolutely perfect for cross-disciplining, for skeet and for sporting clays and 5-stand, those sorts of things. But I wanted the step because it looks cooler. And it's more adjustable, but sometimes you pick things based on how
good reason.
Why not? Who wants to shoot an ugly gun?
It's bloody. Well, there's nothing ugly about the other one. Nothing ugly about the other one. But
who wants to shoot an ugly gun?
Yeah, but by the time I was finished, I ended up with the 694 DCL, and it was either that or the 694 step, and I was talked out of the step just purely because I wanted to shoot across a number of different disciplines, and the step really is dedicated to trap type shooting, right? For just methodical, consistent shooting, and it was going to potentially handicap me across other disciplines. So,
it's definitely a more trap. Targets leaving and rising type of gun, because you can get really comfortable on it. You don't have to lean into it as much, and it's fantastic for that purpose. But very difficult trying to do skeet, for example, or some birds with that.
Yep. So episode 1 talks a lot about that. In fact, we focus purely on those 2 guns and why one and not the other. And eventually, yes, I chose the DTL. I took the sensible approach because I've got a lot of work to do with it. And looking forward to that. Can't complain. It's a great gun. It's a really nice gun. So I'm enjoying using it. Look out for the videos. They're coming.
Cool.
Before I jump into it, since we're talking about shotguns and we got you guys here, Ian's been talking about this barrel system that's kind of the barrel is choked, okay? And we haven't been able to get a clear it's like made out of unobtainium or something like that, some kind of, and it's choked. What's that called, Ian? The barrel?
It's Steelium.
Steelium Plus, Steelium Pro, now Steelium Pro X.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a distinction between Steelium, which is essentially the barrel manufacturing technology as a whole for the Beretta group. So it's a combination of the material, molybdenum chromium mix used, and the hammer forging technique and the manufacturing of Beretta. And then when you talk about Steelium Plus Pro and now the new Pro X, we're talking about essentially the lengthened forcing cones. So every shotgun, you've got your chamber with a quite large diameter, and the purpose of the barrel is to consistently and smoothly force the pellets of the shot shell through the barrel and gradually taper those pellets and taper that shot down until it exits the barrel. The whole purpose of the forcing cone is to force these pellets and generate that velocity and not disturb the pressure and all of that. What traditional barrels do is, as they step from forcing cone down into barrel, it has quite a aggressive step down. What Beretta does, and what they've been working on for the last 15 years, starting with the DT11 and now in the latest iteration, is that because they have the hammer forging machine and they've got unique manufacturing techniques, they're able to essentially hammer this barrel along a tapered mandrel, and they can get a stepless forcing cone, which is very, very long. And essentially, in the Pro X version, it runs the entire length of the barrel until a very small conical area that then forces into the chokes.
Oh, wow. So the whole barrel itself is almost like a single cone.
It's a single, yeah, absolutely. It's like a big forcing cone. And what that does, apart from increasing your pellet density for your pattern, because you have less flyaways, you have less outliers in your pattern, because none of them are hitting the chamber walls, none of them are hitting the step down from forcing cone, but it feels softer, it shoots better, and you have a longer shot string. And what that means also, I mean, for Scott and I, we like to equate things to Formula One, air drag kind of techniques, but you're getting the back half of the shot string that is flying, through the drag of the front half, and it's able to actually penetrate longer. So it retains its velocity, it penetrates deeper at longer distances. So it overall is a huge improvement in the shot pattern.
And it's proven. It's proven by the average Joe shooter like myself. I was shooting a more of a field gun beforehand, just leading up to picking up this gun and moving from probably a gun that doesn't have any Steelium technology in it at all to what I have now. You're going from clays that are breaking, and sure, they're breaking into half a dozen pieces, to clays that are just turning into dust. And I put that down just to the quality of the shot pattern, the consistency of the shot pattern. It's not a fluke. It's just consistently turning stuff to dust, which before it was breaking into numerous pieces, which is obviously dust is better. So yeah, I mean it's a great technology, but yeah, it was good on you for bringing it up, Mark, because I struggled.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to figure it out. Going, what's going on there?
For a while. So yeah, we figured that out. But while we're still talking about them, can you give us a rundown on the SL2? Like, it's new to market. It's a fine piece of gear, and it's beautiful. It's got Steelium Pro X. What's so great about this gun? It's quite unique.
You want to take it, salesman?
I'll let you go. You were the product manager, so you're all over it.
If you're not the right people for it, it's okay. It's all right. I'm putting on the spot.
Look, I can talk shotguns till the cows come home. That's why I wanted to give Scott an opportunity to say something before I take over.
Go.
The SL platform is essentially the pinnacle, let's call it, of side plate, not side lock, so box lock, side plate shotguns from Beretta. It started off with the SL3, which was Beretta's first kind of round body action, very slim, refined, curved edges where it slopes from frame to barrel, which is a much more, say, old school English gun style, and for Beretta quite new, because their traditional box lock is quite squared off. So they made this really elegant, sleek gun in the SL3, and they always had, as a follow-up, eventually to make the SL2. But because they didn't have a reason to supersede the DT11 yet, they hadn't perfected the let's call it the Pro X, the Steelium Pro X technology. They were working on that in the background for about 3-4 years. In fact, there were shooters shooting these guns well before they were ever called an SL2, in disguise, basically in camo, shooting them around the traps in Italy, in the UK, in Australia a couple of years ago. So they've been out and about, hidden, and so now they finally launched it, and it's even longer forcing cones, even softer recoiling. The platform itself is a beautiful mix of elegance and performance, because it really does feel like a step up from the DT11. I had the pleasure of shooting that late last year at Lonato in Italy during a Beretta sales and marketing meeting, and boy was it soft. It was just a nice pointing gun, nice feeling. It was really divine.
Let me just say you have better sales and marketing meetings than I do.
We should be.
Oh, well. Wait till you hear the Africa stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that. All right, so this one's out. When you're ready to send it back around in camo, I don't think too many people will spot it up on the hill in Toowoomba. We'll receive it and look after it for you.
I just want to know which one's best for slugs when I'm shooting pegs.
Hey, you got the money, it's great. Yeah.
Scott will be right there with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Fantastic.
So, two things. One, I'm picking up the ammo for the Slam on Friday. So I'm probably going to get a first chance to try the new Norma 150 grain whitetail. I've been shooting the 180 grain, I think, or 170 grain, 180 grain Oryx out of the 3006, and it's a little mean. It's a little mean for deer. It is a little mean for deer. So I'm glad to see that 150 come through. I think that's probably a more balanced load. But what I got, show and tell time, guys.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. He's got a police board.
Here we go.
Got it? No. I got to try and figure this. So one of the things we've been talking about is, so how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this without making this huge mess? Okay. So one of the challenges that we've had with the LRFs is mounting them on a tripod, because generally you mount through that point there, but that's in the LRF, that's the battery case. So I've been trying to find a decent mounting system. Now there's this big mounting system that's like this big Velcro strap that goes over the top, but it tends to take out your control unit. So I've just managed to find this thing here, guys. So that's the one that's a single barrel.
Genius.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's this thing off Amazon. It's some brand called Sun Photo or something like that. But yeah. So we've now got an ability to tripod mount the LRFs easily.
Cool.
It's not light. It's not breaking in a hurry. It's not light. So you won't be carrying around all the time. And it's because my tripods use a plate, have to balance that, but it does give us that opportunity now to have an easier setup tripod mount for the LRFs, which are great. And of course, when the new LRFs come in, you can have one guy doing the ranging and the phone talking to the scope, and away you go. So that's what I want to try in our few weeks when we're away hunting. So that's about it.
It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks when we're away hunting. So that's it for me and my stuff this week. So
before, what was it worth?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Roughly.
Keep talking. I'll look up my Amazon account.
Oh gosh.
He's going to log in.
And
as I said, mate, I'm not rich. I'm just irresponsible. So
yeah, well, we're all there. So it's an undisclosed amount, but you're going to stick it up on the gear page, right? So people can
keep talking. I'll have the price in a second. Keep going. You know, count numbers or something like that.
Let's talk about the veracity.
Okay, sure.
While Mark's digging around in his Amazon account. So we talked a little bit about the veracity that's coming out and the new electronics that are going into that. We were a bit confused when we had a look at it. There was a bit of debate going on about whether it's an LRF as well or it takes data inputs. Can someone explain to us what this new piece of technology is and does and how we interact with it?
So, you can chime in if you like. So the PH is, let's say, it's using the technology originally that Steiner used in the T7XI platform in the IFS. It was was great for military, but we needed something commercial. Yeah, please.
There was a lot of acronyms just thrown in then. Could you
thought you were going to jump in with how much you spent.
Yeah, so there was something that TS and the ISF, did you say?
Yeah, so it originally I think the iteration came from Steiner, really, and Steiner is Burris's sort of parent company, you would call it. It was done for a military application. Then Burris thought, yep, this is a great idea, and it kind of bridges the gap between an eliminator, which has got a full rangefinder in it, and a normal scope. So what we've got here is we've got a scope that is now Bluetooth to the Burris app, which you can download, put all your data in. You can put different projectile weights in quickly with your app and change the data that's going to come up on the pH. Basically, you range with your rangefinder, preferably a Burris or a Steiner, and you come up with your range, put your range in, you dial it in, and away you go. It's pretty simple. You've got wind hash marks on the scope as well, which you can use your Burris app for as well, and it'll come up on the screen with your windage. It'll come up with your range that you've dialed in with your scope, and away you go. So it's pretty quick and easy. And it's really easy. I think the biggest thing is being able to select between bullet weights. Like you said, you were going from a 180 to 150, which is really common for people. They might be shooting, sambar, for instance, and then they might want to go and shoot pigs. And with your Burris app, you can put that in. The scope is getting that data straight away, and it's simple. You don't need the internet as well. You just Bluetooth straight to your scope, whether you're out in the field or anywhere. So it's a bridge between a normal scope and a fully blown eliminator with a rangefinder in it.
Okay.
Cool.
And the new eliminator is very scope-like, isn't it? It's kind
Absolutely.
of more, looks more like a traditional scope as well. Is that right?
So, yeah, if you want to start into the eliminator, Clem and I recently, obviously we were in Africa, we use the Eliminator 6. The new form factor is of a normal scope with a 34mm tube. It ranges beautifully and quickly. You've got a little Bluetooth button that you can stick on the fore end or wherever you want, or you can press on the actual scope itself. The ranging is super quick, it's super accurate. It goes out to, I think, 2,000 yards or thereabouts.
That's
1,800 meters.
Yeah.
I don't even walk that far.
You can use it in low light. It's got low light settings, which Clem and I both had the opportunity to use. So you can adjust it quickly.
Low light settings on it.
Yeah, so you don't want the LED flaring too much. So you've got your LED panel up the top.
Yeah.
And in low light, if it's flaring too much, it's blurring your vision. So you need to turn it down. So you've got two options to do that. You can do a preset that you're going to shoot in low light, and it even drops the LEDs lower. Or you can do it on the go in the field. There's two big arrows up and down for your LEDs. Once again, it Bluetooths to your phone. You can put all your data in, you can program it, and it worked flawlessly for us, and proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, and that was in-field discovering for us because we were given the first, production scopes to play around with and to hunt with, but we didn't have time to look through the instructions manual or anything like that. So we were out in the field, and he was, lining up his shot in twilight, and he pressed the dot. It started flaring, and we figured it out pretty quick and got it down to a reasonable brightness. So
we found we needed to do that with even the likes of aim points as well. Being able to adjust that brightness was really important for low light, and a lot of the hunting that we do is first light, last light. So with the Eliminator, I know that Eliminator 5 also had the dot, the remote button, I guess, the ranging button rather than pushing the scope. Did you find yourself using that remote button more than the scope itself? Is that?
Yeah, for sure, especially because I'm left-handed, and to reach over and try to press the button on the left of the scope while I'm trying to hold the forend and all that is not great. Unless I'm in a prone position, then obviously I can do it with my left hand. But Yeah, the remote you can put wherever you want. You can either use double-sided tape or Velcro patch or whatever you want. You can loop it around with a nylon cord or something like that, wherever.
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
be interesting to
I
see
knew
how
there's-
that works.
I knew there's a reason I liked you. You're a lefty.
Unfortunate, huh?
Yeah.
I knew there was a reason. So look, we're getting there. So let's pull back a sec. Oh, and by the way, that thing costs $55.06. On it
Not the
says
Eliminator, your gadget.
not the Eliminator.
Yeah.
No,
I'll have one
the adapter, the Swiss adapter.
I think
No,
the
that's
other thing
very
I'd say
important.
about I thought the other thing I'd say about the Eliminator is the 6. Not only is the form factor of a normal scope, the optical coating is improved out of sight from the 5 and the 4s and of course the 3s. So the optical quality is extremely good. And that's really important on a laser scope because in the past it doesn't matter who it is, what brand it is, they haven't been able to get the right coatings on the lenses, so you weren't getting the light transmission you would from a normal scope. So that's been vastly improved in the 6. So that was a big takeaway from me.
Yeah,
I thought the step up even to the 5 was good. From the 4 to the 5 was good. If it's the same step up again,
It is
if you
significantly
mark
better.
the moment in time where Steiner joined the Beretta group, you will see a vast improvement in the low light capabilities of the new Burris models, because Steiner has always been and continues to be the leader
Obsessed.
in low light transmission coatings. That's what their preference. That's what the Germans are sitting there at 2 a.m. in the middle of the forest hunting by moonlight. And I've done it once, and I'll tell you, if you're used to Aussie style hunting, it'll drive you mad standing there in the cold, waiting for something to happen in pitch black conditions. But you can see through the binders, you can see through the scope. It works really well. For me, the Eliminator 6 is a dream come true, because I've been working with Beretta for 15 years, and I believe the original Eliminator came out just as I joined the company, so 2008, 2009. And it was ever since then that they promised the next generation would be a scope form factor as opposed to the big chunky block.
Box, yeah.
And it took until Gen 6. By Gen 3, I had seen the scope. I shot with it, and they told me it was coming next. It was coming in a few months. It was going to be launched at SHOT Show. And
So
it took another 4 years.
what was it that held it up? Was there anything specific? Do you know?
You know, I think it was, apart from industrialization, which, you know, anyone can build one thing by hand really well. Making it work at scale is always the challenging part.
That's a good point.
And at a
But
price point that people can afford.
What Burris wanted to make sure was that they didn't lose anything in the transition from blockiness to scope. And I think there were some technological hurdles. You know, the chip sizes, the LRF control unit was going to be sticking out of the scope. So it didn't look fantastic, but it did look like a scope, and it mounted with normal rings. So I probably would have taken that 3 years ago. But here we are now, and it's finally here.
Yeah.
I think, also, you know, to Clem's point about industrialization and electronics in general, if you look at the industry as a whole, if you look at our competitors are offering a 1-year warranty on their electronics, on all their optics, which isn't a long time in the real world. And Burris offers a forever warranty on all of their products and electronics. So they needed something to be extremely robust before they could release it to market. So I think there's a lot in that, trying to get it to be reliable all of the time for everyone.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had someone approach me when I was using the Steiner LRFs, and they asked me, and I didn't know the answer at the time, I better follow it up. They asked me what the warranty was like on the display inside, because they'd had other display binoculars that over a period of time, the display dulled in their vision, and they weren't able. There was no warranty; it faded, and basically the technology was useless after some time. If Burris is doing this, you can't be expecting to be losing any of that quality over time, I imagine.
No, they're pretty confident. Overall, look, everything, eventually comes back, but our Burris warranties as a holistic is pretty low for optics. I've been in the industry. I worked it out before I came on here, 32 years. So it's a long time, and I've seen a lot of warranty cases come through. But as far as, and I look after that department as well. So as far as warranties go, very low overall in Burris, and particularly with the electronics that they have nowadays. We're seeing low return rates, if any, on some of the products.
That's unreal. Yeah,
That's
and it's
awesome.
good to see that warranty's come through to Australia. I've got my very, very first scope many, many, many years ago sitting over there on the bench, damaged, and I rang the manufacturer about their lifetime warranty to be told that doesn't cover Australia. It only covers wherever it was manufactured, probably in the US somewhere. So it's good to see that comes all the way through to here. The last question before we get into the big trip, when you were setting up the Eliminator, so obviously you picked it up when you got over to Africa. Did you spend any time on the range with it first?
Well, I was in front of the whole group of 16 shooters, the first
That's
two
dangerous.
pick it up and shoot it. And I punched a couple into the bullseye, and then I was unceremoniously told to get off the rifle. It was shooting fine, and let someone else have a go.
Yeah.
So
in fairness, it was zeroed prior to our arrival.
Sure.
So we didn't mess around with it. But yeah, as Scott said, I think he was showing off a little bit, being the first shooter to test it out, and let someone else have a crack.
It was a leading question.
Me.
It was a leading question that goes into to what distance did you test it?
Oh, originally, we shot it at 100 meters.
Right, you didn't get to push the button and test it to 5 and 6 and 7 and see how it went?
Oh, we did, but not on paper.
Not on paper.
No,
Yeah.
animals.
Interesting. Yeah. All right, we'll get into that.
I'm still a little bit befuddled that I've been buying rifles of Scott for 32 years.
32 years.
I'm a little kind of went, holy moly. That's it, yeah. When
Did he have hair when you first met him?
Huh?
Yeah. And he didn't wear
big.
glasses. He didn't wear glasses.
Yeah, look, I'm only wearing the cap, so I don't want the shine.
He had hair,
ruin
and,
the camera.
and I think it's red too. I think he's redhead. Are you a redhead?
I got a bit of ginger.
Yeah, it's red, and he didn't wear glasses.
Interestingly, I bought my
But you know,
first
the
rifle
first
in
10
Australia
years from Scott, I never saw him stand up for the first 10 years.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
It was always at the computer talking to me.
What are you saying, Jonno?
I said I bought my first rifle in Australia from Scott as well, the Tikka.
There you go. I'm sure a few people did.
Jeez,
Getting a bit sentimental.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so why don't you run us down? Yeah.
Coincidentally, the Eliminator 6, I believe, is somewhere in transit between Beretta HQ or Beretta Australia HQ and my place. That's replacing the Eliminator 5. I may hold on to both of those scopes for a period of time because they're coming down for the slam. So Team Hurls with Sarko, 2 Eliminators, one on a Tikka, one on a Benelli Lupo. We can't lose. I'm just calling it now. Fellas got nothing.
I think you do have an advantage. Let's just say that much.
Well, it's big open, long range, grassy plains. Yeah, it's going to be great. And I'll be in the back of the Polaris while these fellas are walking in camp. It's going to be brilliant. Love it.
You've got Hendo though. I've seen him in front of deer.
Yeah.
And I will be shooting the Tikka I bought of Scott too back in 2007, South Brisbane. There you go. Holy moly.
Right, more out of interruptions.
Guys, why don't you tell us a little about yourselves, and then tell us about what did you describe it? Your business meeting, or what was it? Your product meeting,
Marketing.
your African product meeting.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great product launch.
That's a sales meeting. Let's call it
sales meeting. The sales meeting. That's it.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, Clen? You can go.
Yeah, sure. You want me to tell everyone a bit about myself, you said?
Yeah, please do.
And what you did for Australia.
So I guess my journey in shooting and hunting and how I ended up with Beretta was, I guess, a direct result of my father and his passion and his successes in clay target shooting in his life brought him to Australia eventually. He founded and started Beretta Australia in the year 2000, and I've been shooting and hunting with him ever since I was, a little kid, but probably not to the same proficiency, as his Olympic successes in skeet. In fact, just a little sidebar, I tried to actually ask him to be my coach when I turned 12 and I got my junior shooting license, and I went to the clay range, and he refused. Flat out refused. He said, I don't want to coach you. We'll fight. You're not ready. All of this. He goes, get a few years under your belt and then we'll talk. And he retired from clay target shooting before I turned 16. So that promised coaching session never truly happened. But I think in hindsight, it was probably for the best for our relationship. But anyway, I started with Beretta in 2008. I've been working for now 15 years for the Beretta Group, and I'm currently the general manager of Beretta Australia. So, looking after all sorts of things. And I've been working with Scott now for, 9 years has it been? At Beretta. Before then, he used to be the screaming guy at the other end of the phone as our customer, and frustratingly, he was always right with his criticisms of what we were doing, what our products weren't doing. So he's actually been a guiding light long before he came to Beretta Australia, and I had to swallow, some pride pills whenever I talked to him, because he would let you know how he feels if he wasn't happy.
Never.
And then we begged him to come work for us for a couple of years. I think 2015 he started with us, Scott.
2016, May 23rd. Wow. Not that I remember.
Yeah, that's right. It was recently your work anniversary. I even wished you well.
Correct. Yeah, you did. I said, why are you wishing me well? What's going on?
It's a happy anniversary.
Thank you. You done?
Over to you, Scott.
Yeah. Over to me. My current position at Beretta is Director of the Commercial Division. I started out in the industry, as I said, 32 years ago. I started working at Cleavers for a little while with Tony Cleaver back in the day. Worked there for 2.5 years. Then I went to Queensland Gun Exchange, which I finished a position as sales manager. I was there for the best part of 23 years. Done most things, importing, exporting, armourer work, and everything in between. That's a really quick summary. I've shot most things, whether it be rifle, pistol, shotgun, competitively. There's not too many things I haven't done apart from black powder and wearing a raccoon hat.
Well, you can combine those two and have a lot of fun.
Right. Well, there's a challenge. There's a challenge.
Well, we were looking for a novelty hat for the daily loser of the slam trip, the raccoon one. No, I think the colourful Mexican hat's the best one to step out.
But we get the raccoon hat. So, gents, as you said, you were recently in Africa, which is, the continent. So can you give us a rundown of the hunt and where you went and things like that? As we said before, our listeners are really interested in a lot of overseas hunts. They hear about it, they see about it, they see it. Often what they see is kind of the polished product, which shows the guy on the ground shooting the game animal, but it doesn't really give you the story behind it. So, if you can give us a rundown of where you went, how you traveled, where you stayed, and those things like that, that'd be really great.
Yeah, so we went as part of a company, let's call it a product launch, as we said, and which is a really nice part of working in the industry. You get paid to go hunting sometimes, not often, but we were in Namibia this time, and Scott probably can pronounce the name of the lodge better than I can. I'm putting you on the spot, I know.
I'm going to say Bengazicht. It's Bergzicht. If anyone wants some details, just reach out to these guys and we'll put you in touch. Keep going and then we'll give you more info after that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and look, to your point, Mark, before we go on about, what specifically we did, I tend to agree that a lot of people find it, that distant, far off, polished thing that they don't think is real or for them. It's not so far away. I mean, I've now been lucky enough to go twice, and the amount of flight options to get to Africa from Australia, there's even a direct, I think it's Sydney, Joburg, and I think there's definitely Perth, Joburg.
None of which we chose to go there.
We went we wanted to stay in the sky a little bit longer, so we chose to go through the UAE.
So you went to Dubai, did you?
And we went a couple of days after they had their biggest flood in God knows how many years. They had something like 2 years worth of rain in one afternoon and closed down the airport, which was crazy. If you know Emirates and Dubai Airport, to close that down is pretty strange. But anyway, so I've worked in America for a couple of years, and the reason I mentioned that is they've got a lot of commercial hunting as a business over there. So they have enormous properties, they manage game, they manage it properly so that it's wild yet accessible. And Africa is that on steroids. They invented commercial hunting that is wild and expansive and not expensive, but definitely expansive, which is something that I think in Australia a lot of hunters don't understand is even a thing. They believe that all hunting is you're walking in public land in the bush, which is nice, and we're lucky that we have a lot of accessible land with a lot of free roaming deer and plenty of pests. But the reality of a organized and managed hunting trip means that nothing is guaranteed, but it's certainly a more certain proposition than you walking around the African bush with your rifle without any kind of knowledge or local know-how. So it was a 3 or 4 day trip for us. As Scott mentioned earlier, there were 16 shooters from 6 different countries, which was a pretty busy lodge at that point. I think we didn't quite overwhelm them, but it's certainly on the big side of what they're used to handling. So they had plenty of guides available, and they split us off into groups of 2 or 3 each day. And we had a pretty onerous wish list of what we wanted to shoot and see and things like that. So I think everybody basically ticked off everything on their list in that 3 day period, and we were hunting over 32,000 hectares. So we're not talking about a pen in the middle of suburbia. We're talking wild, barren bush, which I say bush because it reminds me very much of Australia. It's very similar landscape,
except for the thorns on the trees were bigger.
Then everything can,
acacias.
I was going to say everything can kill you, but Australia's got a fair bit of that, I guess.
So the hunting guides, the professional hunters, were a lot more scared of what they hear about Australian things that'll kill you than they are about anything in Africa. They're not worried about lions and rhinos and buffalo. They're worried about the spiders and snakes that we've got.
Yeah. That's unreal.
So what game were you after?
Mostly antelope. Mostly antelope. What else, Scott? There were a few.
There's 16 shooters and we shot 47 animals over the trip, I think, in total. I've got a prices to you guys if you want to hear some numbers of what things cost and the like. So As far as the terrain, I have to agree with Clem. It was extremely similar to Australia, Queensland, Western New South Wales. It was dense bush scrub. It wasn't the African plains that you see or you kind of tend to think about. We saw a little bit of that, and I do mean a little bit, but overall it was, you were seeing an animal 50 to 70 meters away, and if you didn't get a good look at it, it was gone and like that.
If you actually saw it, because it takes a while for your eyes to adjust to the what you're actually looking for. And for example, zebras, you think zebras, great big white horse. Scott will tell you a little bit more about zebras in a minute, I'm sure, but
I've got PTSD about zebras, so I don't know if I want to talk about it.
Well, what do they call them? The ghost of Africa or something. But anyway, they were hard to spot in that shrub, even though they're a great big white target.
They blended
very
really
difficult.
Well.
Yeah, very difficult.
So that paint job does work.
You're talking. I think, that was my first time to Africa, and I don't know what I was expecting, but the amount of animals was unbelievable. There was just so much game everywhere, every day. Now, you might not wanted to shoot that particular game, but everything that you wanted to shoot, you didn't see on that day. Everything that you didn't want to shoot, you saw. That was pretty much the rule. So we kind of was trying to outsmart the animals in the end, going, I don't want to shoot that today. Therefore, we saw it. So, but the amount of animals, from springbok jumping across in front of the vehicle to giraffes to get your African animal book out. We saw it a lot.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah, there were so many different varieties of antelope.
Sure.
And
I'll get my African animal book out.
There you go.
I'll get my African animal book out, and
so I think the number one thing.
It's a big book or a little book in the end. So
there was so many boks. Yeah, bok, big bok, little bok, another bok, bok. Just bok.
Yeah, and thankfully we had the guide, because some boks were, about $500 and other boks were about 6,000 or 7,000. So
you had to get your box right.
It depends what you're shooting.
Get your box right.
Like everyone wants to know how much things cost, right? So this was as of when we went to our trip in late April, early May.
Mm-hmm.
So one hunter with one professional guide is $400 a day, US. If you've got two hunters with one PH, it was $300 US per day. And that includes breakfast, 2-course lunch, 3-course dinner, laundry, your licensed BH, trained trackers. We had 2 trackers per vehicle, and they were top blokes. So Kalahari, basically Bushmen, were on the edge of the Kalahari Desert. They were good value. Field preparation of the trophies, transfers backwards and forwards to the airport. And these people, they were the friendliest. Arnis was the person who owned the lodge, but all the team were the friendliest people you'll ever meet. They picked us up. They looked after us from the time they picked us up at the airport. And literally, I don't know if they wanted to make sure we left the country, but they literally took us to the plane. Aussies get back on the plane. They didn't drop us off out the front or anything like that. They came up, make sure we checked in the whole 9 yards. So.
Right up until they said you cannot go past this point without a passport and a ticket.
Wow.
So that was includes all your hunting licenses, and as I said, the transport backwards and forwards. So, if there's 2 of you going, 2 mates, so it's $300 US per day, and that includes pretty much everything.
It's very reasonable.
Apart from your game.
The game cost, that's expensive. Yeah.
Well, I've got a full price list, or a menu, whatever you'd like to call it. So if there's anything you'd like to know,
smash through it.
Give us a taste. You don't have to give us the full menu, but give us a taste.
Oh, okay.
Give us an entree, maybe select the main, something like that.
The Macca's loose change menu. I might look at a few loose change menu items.
Do the Happy Meal. Do a Happy Meal, maybe.
Go small, medium, large.
The Stenbuck is $400. These are all US dollars, by the way,
Sure.
so just keep this in mind, okay? And it doesn't include your actual mounting of the trophy. This this is the fee for shooting the animal. Yeah, okay. So Blue Wildebeest, which is something that I did happen to take while I was there, which was a nice animal, is $700 US. Your white springbok is $1,300 US. Your copper springbok is $1,100. Your black springbok is $750. Your Kalahari springbok is $450. See what we're meaning about the box? There's a lot of box. Golden oryx, if you're looking at something that's more expensive, is $5,000 US.
That just sounds expensive.
The standard oryx is only $650, and there's plenty of them. So
I wonder how the oryx feel. I wonder how the oryx feel about that. Like your standard, mate.
I'm not sure.
I tell you, we saw a golden oryx that didn't seem to have a care in the world. I think he knew it was too expensive for us.
Well, I can tell you, if you Google golden oryx, you get this beautiful animal with big straight horns. If you Google, that's the golden oryx. If you Google standard oryx, you get a freight company. So they're quite different.
If you Google a Gemsbuck, is a standard oryx.
Gemsbuck, that's a Gemsbuck, correct. That's the kudu is 2,600.
Oh, that's the one.
Most of your zebra
iconic animal of Namibia.
Yeah, beautiful
Southern
animals.
Africa.
Common Gemsbuck's a nice animal too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. That's the oryx. Yeah.
It's very African. Sable, $5,000 US.
Yeah.
A rowan, which we did see and take while we were there, that's $5,000 US.
The second largest
personally, but
yeah, that was a funny one because we were watching this thing running through the plains and we thought, that's an interesting buck. We haven't seen that buck before. And the guy goes, that's not a buck, that's a roan. I said,
So they're your trophy fees. So if you're thinking $300 US per day for 2 hunters and you don't go silly, you take a couple of nice animals that aren't in the crazy range, you can have a really nice trip and not spend a huge amount of money. And as I said, the way they look after you is second to none. The people are fantastic. The guides, the trackers are fantastic. The professional hunters or the PHs are great.
Big shout out to Louis, who was our guide. He was a top bloke, and I think Scott got along because everybody there likes cricket and rugby.
What's not to like about rugby?
I don't know. Bloody Italians, right?
Yeah.
So, in the lodge, I'm assuming. Actually, I'm not assuming. If 2 of you went over, you're paying you $300 each for the day, and you're there for a couple of days, for example. There'd be a fee for non-hunters staying there as well, I imagine.
Yeah, if you want to be an observer, it's $175 US.
So that's if you take your family.
Take the wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the lodge. There's 2 lodges on the property. The lodge that we stayed at was the slightly older lodge, but it has a nice swimming pool, so the kids and the wife, if you wanted to take them, can stay at the lodge quite happily. They can wander around, and there was another lodge that was very modern that we didn't stay in. It was up on a mountain, which was a beautiful outlook. Wherever we were was beautiful. The days consisted of get up at was about 6:30, breakfast, 7 o'clock you're out in the vehicle, 1 o'clock lunch, then 3 o'clock you're back in the vehicle till 7 p.m. So
I think it depends
day.
on they work around the temperature of the day. So when it's cool, relatively cool compared to other hot and muggy parts of the year. You can stay out a little bit longer before you have to duck inside. So we only had about a 3-hour break during the day. And I don't think we started as early as we could have until the last couple of days. We said, hey, listen, we're used to getting up early. And the guide goes, okay, 5 a.m., let's go. So we were out before the sun came out at that point, and it was really nice and cool there.
Yeah, and you talked about being in the cars. What was the percentage of car versus on foot?
So as you can imagine, 32,000 hectares is quite a bit to cover on foot. So there were dirt tracks, pretty rough tracks around where you're driving, and basically you get up to a couple of hilly spots as you find them. You do a bit of glassing, you look, and the trackers also have a general idea of where to look in what kind of landscape. So the kudus tend to be up in more mountainous regions, and obviously the animals come down from the hills when it's cool, and then they start to kind of retreat when it gets too hot. But we were probably in the car 70% of the time, Scott, and whenever we had an opportunity, if we saw something in the distance, even up to a kilometre plus away, we'd get out of the car, we'd start the long stalk through the
hang on, I've got to pull you up there, Clem, because the PHs was always, let's go for a short walk.
Yeah, true.
Mhm.
So a short walk is consistent of 45 minutes, and then they don't tell you about the long walk. The long walk is just
walk.
Stop.
In fairness, it doesn't, even a kilometre doesn't sound like that far, but the problem is when you're on 40-degree weather and the sun's blaring down on you. Mind you, it's not as bad as the Aussie sun, so we never got burnt once, which is another benefit of not having a hole in the ozone layer. But the other problem was the rifles that they gave us for the hunt. I think somebody was playing tricks on the lodge, or I don't know what was going on, but they decided to give us some heavy varmint rifles to cart around rather than a nice Sarco carbon light or peak or whatever with a carbon. Nah, we had heavy varmint rifles carting around, going through the spiky stuff. It was a bit nasty, but
with no sling.
With no slings.
Oh yes, that's right. That was the other thing. No sling.
Yeah, we carry them over your shoulders, like that.
The big African style.
Right.
What calibers were they?
300 Win Mag.
Oh.
Which is a good versatile caliber. Probably a bit mean for the little box, but definitely let us stretch the legs of the Eliminator.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you get any other time to, did you just go straight from, I suppose, the capital to the lodge, or did you get a chance to look around the capital or anything like that as well?
Not at all.
We were whisked away.
Meeting.
Okay.
No time.
Yeah.
I stay. So, meeting. So, work here.
The plane landed. We got in a Land Cruiser. They drove extremely fast. They stopped in the middle of nowhere and threw us in another Land Cruiser, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there was a mid-highway
exchange.
And they told us which
Sounds
what
dodgy.
was the lovely lady's name? Mary Lou.
Marianne, I think.
No, it wasn't Mary.
Mary Louise.
Anyway,
Mary Louise.
Mary Louise, yeah, she was telling us all about how it was really interesting because it's about an hour and 40 minutes from the capital to where we hunted, and they were telling us about she was telling us about the game management and what they breed and how they count them and what stock they have, and the PHs will only shoot, and this is true, they will not shoot an animal for the sake of you shooting an animal. They will tell you no. If it's not a good enough trophy, if it's not old enough, they just won't even consider letting you shoot it.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting hearing how it's a real business to them and it's a real passion to them, and the animals are special to them. It's this they really love the animals that are on the property. So they're very particular about what they shoot and when they shoot it. As we found out, it's quite a process to get something that you want. A nice animal. It's a process.
Yeah, which I think was a bit of a shock to Scott coming from Queensland, where you see something and you crack, and they said, no, wait, that's not good enough. He goes, what do you mean?
Shoot him in the head, kick him in the ditch.
Well, we have one.
That was the other thing that shocked him.
Yeah, well, we had one rifle between 3 hunters, and when there was only one rifle between 3 hunters, because you can only stalk one at a time, and I was gutted for a start. And as Clem said about
that someone else had to carry your gun for you until it was ready to shoot. I can't see the problem with this.
Well,
the hunter that walked for the animal, he carried the gun.
There's no trouble.
Yeah. So that was a little disappointing to me that I didn't have my own gun, and shooting things in the body made no sense to me. I'm from Queensland. You shoot it in the head, because if you shot something in the body in Queensland, everyone would say you're a bad shot, right? So
yeah.
To me, it was a bit
trophies. You probably don't want to shoulder mount with a great big hole in the head.
Yeah.
No, not
Imagine
at all.
all those shoulder mounts coming back.
We've seen that trophy wall. You can tell it's 300. So the two of you hunted together?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and somebody else was in the party, obviously. What was the experience like once that animal was on the ground? So as you've gone through the hunt, and then you hear a lot about the guides and the I'm forgetting the term you use for them, the trackers, the professional trackers, getting in there and doing all the butchering and preparing. Did you have to sit back and watch, or how did that process play out?
Do you want me to? So when you shoot the animal, what happens is the pH and the trackers. For us, we're relatively lucky. Our animals pretty much dropped where we shot them. Some people, the trackers had to go out and track them for an hour, 2 hours. Some actually went overnight and came back the next morning and got the animal, because the bush is so dense, and if you shot it in the late afternoon, as dark fell really quick, there's nothing you could do. But
yeah, I will say we were lucky in that we had we recovered every animal that we shot amongst a group of hunters.
That's fantastic.
It's not always the case, as we all know in hunting. You can't always win, but that was a particularly good result. And the other thing is that the fact that these animals are used to African wilderness, they've had millions of years of evolution. They've developed these enormous adrenaline glands, because they're always on the defensive. They're always on the run from some predator in their landscape. And even if you shoot something through both lungs and you get a really nice shot, some of these animals, I mean, I remember a couple of years ago on an eland that I shot, which is this great biggest antelope. Was a ton of animal, and I shot it at about 100 meters with a 300 Win Mag through I think it was one lung rather than both, and that thing ran for 3 hours. We tracked it, we had multiple follow-up shots on it, and it humbled me, even though I thought I was a pretty good shot, that these things just keep going and going and going.
So go back to shooting. You've shot the animal. They go over. They prepare the area for for the obligatory photographs. It's the first time you shot something in Africa. They generally will grab a lot of blood, dirt, and potentially even poo, and smear it all over your face.
Yep.
As the blooding ritual. And then
photos of that, Scott, by the way?
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah.
I do.
We need a good thumbnail for this episode. That'd be great.
Yeah, sure. No worries. And then they put a little snip in the animal's leg. They put a hook on it. They pull it up into the Land Cruiser, and you travel around with it or go back to camp. Most of our animals, weirdly, we shot not too far away from us going back to camp, so that was pretty good.
We were getting close to the end of the day for most of them.
Yeah, the butchering is done at the lodge. They've got
skinning shed.
The whole lot. Yeah, they've got the skinning station. They do not waste anything. They literally use everything. Everything that we ate while we were there was game. We had kudu burgers. Did we have eland steak? What was our steak? I can't remember.
We had all sorts of things. Yeah, we had Oryx, we had Eland.
Eland's one of my
Scott's burger came just as he was saying, I'm, I like this game, but I really wish I had a burger right now. And then, Kudu burger instead.
The Kudu burger came.
Nice.
McKudu.
McKudu and fries.
I had a McKudu burger. So, yeah, I mean, you don't have to see the blood and the guts if you don't want, but we did. We went over and had a look at our animals. We had bullet recovery as well. We wanted to see how the bullets performed. We recovered. I think I sent a few photos to you, Mark, didn't I?
You did.
Norma,
as I said,
Oryx,
you sent me. That's how it all started. Like a bing.
Yeah.
Bing. Look at this. Look at this.
As far as performance, we're using 300 Win Mag, 165 grain Oryx. Performed really well on all the game that we shot. On a, let's call it a kudu zebra-sized animal shooting at broadside. Basically, the bullet was going all the way through, penetrating, and it was sitting just under the skin on the other side in a perfect mushroom. We saw, I think I saw two bullets that were recovered. They were Oryxes, both pretty much identical mushrooming, and a perfect mushroom at that. So the performance of the bullets was top notch.
Yeah, we were really happy with those.
I have photos with looking at that. And it looks like
the only thing I'd say is, given that there was a lighter bullet weight, it actually had quite a bit of drop past, say, 300 meters, and we really got to test the eliminator with that, because when I ranged my Oryx, it was at about 280 meters, and the way the eliminator works, as you guys probably know, is you've got your zero on the reticle, and then you've got on the vertical axis, you've got the red dot that lights up that represents your new 0 point at that distance. And already at 280 meters, I had it on relatively, I think I was at 8 or 10 power, something like that. And it was pretty far down the scope already. But sure enough, took the shot and performed really well. I was really happy with that one.
That's good.
Scott, the rifles, looks like, it's a Tikka. I can see that. It's got a suppressor on the barrel. Is the scope on it the Eliminator 6 that's on it? It's got a ring,
it is.
a red ring on it.
Yeah, we had we used the Eliminator 6. We used the Steiner Predator 8 as well. We used the Steiner new 10x42 LRF E-Optic, which was a really good piece of kit that Clem and I hadn't used before. We're really impressed with that. Not only does it tell you your range, it also tells you where the animal has dropped or where you've ranged to. So really handy in the bush. Like, hard to explain in Australian conditions sometimes how useful that was, but in those African conditions where you had a fraction to sight it, quickly press the button to range it, and then it Bluetooth straight to phone. You do not need mobile connection, and it's got GPRS in it in your phone, and you can literally just walk to the impact point with your phone. So even if you can't see where the animal dropped or where you hit it, you can just literally walk blind with your phone to that ranging point. So that was really cool.
And the Steiner app uses Google Maps, and I believe you can download them to work in offline mode, because we saw, without any internet reception, we had a clear topology of where we were and the range point and where we were. And as we moved, obviously, we got closer to the destination. It's great, especially for people like me that can't navigate to save their life without Google Maps.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that and how you could use it as a like a point-to-point navigation. You could literally because often when you shoot an animal at distance, you go, I'm here, it's there, but 100 meters from where you were, everything looks completely different. Where's that tree that I was looking at? And so you could actually go, actually use it as a navigation direct line of sight navigation too. So we were talking about the new LRFs. They sound like the really lovely piece of kit. One question about them is, how are they physically, size-wise, compared to the existing LRFs?
Exactly the same. I couldn't tell the difference because we had both side by side. Yep.
I could be wrong, but I thought they were lighter, but maybe I'm wrong. But...
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the weight, but in terms of physical size, they look the same. So, which I'll be honest, as a normal glassing and stalking binocular, it does feel a bit heavier because it's kind of a little bit longer to hide the electronics, and because the electronics in there. As an everyday biner, I thought it was a little bit overkill for our conditions. I would have probably preferred an 8x30 horror prism, so you don't have to fiddle around with a wheel, something like that. But then when it comes time to actually ranging things, it's nice to have it there and then use that for the purpose that it's built for.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a pair of the older Steiner HTs. I think they're HTs. And if you get them and you put the range and a rangefinder, you realise that basically the LRFs are a rangefinder kind of embodied in, literally in terms of size. That's the difference. The difference is a rangefinder. The reason we ask is most of us hunt with a chest rig, which makes these things very, very useful. But we have searched around for chest rigs that fit them. So so the size is quite an important consideration, and that we've had a number of people who've got them who are very impressed with them. But that's what it is. What chest rig are you getting for those to fit? And so there's a couple of brands that do work, but that's a big consideration, the size of them.
Yeah, we're using a Steiner shoulder harness that sat on your chest.
Yep.
Can we talk about the optic scope?
Yes, yes, you can.
Yeah, well, are you asking me? If you're asking me, sure.
That's probably a no. I was looking for Clem's reaction. So.
If you're asking me, sure, go for it. Because we don't know what you're talking about.
You can give a bit of a teaser if you want, but it's.
Well, I was just going to say, the LRF the new one is designed to work with the new Steiner scope, and I'll leave it at that.
Cool.
Oh, you're talking about the binos. Yeah, the binos are fine. I thought you meant the scopes.
I did mean the scope. So I'll just we'll leave that one. There's a teaser for everyone to look out for.
There's a Happy Meal that's going to be the LRFs with the Happy Meal scope to go with it. Okay,
potentially, yeah. I think you were starting to ask about the rest of the equipment. Yeah, we were using a suppressor. I know that it's a topic in Australia that's been brought up in several states. I think overseas it's extremely common to use a suppressor for workplace health and safety, OH&S with hearing, definitely for professionals and for culling, but just general hunting for the animal's well-being. If you've got to harvest an animal, the animals around it, you don't want to scare them and frighten them and everything in between. And it's so much better for the environment, the hunter, everyone to use a suppressor. And, the recoil with the suppressor on a 300 Win Mag is
nothing.
It's like nothing.
It's like a 22 Magnum.
It is a very weird. It is a very weird topic because you hunt in England, which has really restrictive gun laws and licensing. Part of that very restrictive licensing is you have to have a suppressor.
You must use the suppressor.
That's right. It's like you've got it. You have to use it. In certain areas.
I believe it was the same in Namibia. They weren't they saying, Scott, that you get fined if you shoot without a suppressor?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they were saying it's for the animal welfare of the other animals. They don't want to go blasting rifles and scaring the bejesus out of the other animals. But
I tell you, for me, it's a hot topic because I've had the joy to shoot with a suppressor overseas a number of times. I mean, our friends across the pond in New Zealand, embarrassing us with how progressive they are on that, and we've got the Australian government paying everyone's hearing aids because they turned deaf at 50, but they refuse to recognize the validity of a suppressor because they've seen too many Hitman movies or something, and they think that it silences them. But
turn us all into ninjas. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, and you think about it here, especially here, like, when you're shooting pigs and goats, if you wanted to be effective, and in fact, strange enough, even in that, what I regard as a really misguided deer strategy, one of the things they did say that did make sense was that it makes sense to use a suppressor if you're shooting an animal for pest mitigation.
Yeah,
they don't run.
Yeah.
So but it's interesting. It's always interesting to see that, and especially on a larger caliber rifle like the 300, but as you said, that scope, if that's the photo I've got, if that's the Burris Predator 6, it looks just like as you said, the form is very much a traditional scope. It looks quite compact and scope-like.
Yeah. Apart
One of
from being 34 mil, you can't really tell that it's got any electronics in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I've noticed, and I'm assuming that the new Eliminator 6 doesn't come with scope rings, because the other one mounts straight on the pick rail. So this is it's an addition, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So any 34 mil rings to suit.
Yeah.
Your face.
Boris does a nice set of signature rings with inserts. They're the ideal ones to use with it and go straight onto a Picatinny or Weaver base. So that's what we were using. That's what I'd recommend is the best option for it.
Yeah, great. Yep.
Avoid thin 34 mil rings. That's why the ones that Scott said, they've got a wide enough to be able to clamp across a wider.
They're more of a, not rectangular, but an angular ring. Yeah.
But they're just kind of longer. They clamp on more surface area, so it doesn't.
The double, the 4 grub screws per.
Yeah.
That's a cube. That's a tube you don't want to squish. Yeah.
No. Going back to your hunt, so you hunted a lot of antelope. Did you get in and amongst some of the dangerous game, or not so much? Well, I guess you call it game, but the lions and tigers and bears, or less bears, but as the saying goes,
that's not Africa.
Look,
no.
There was, as part of that price list, Scott didn't mention, there was a leopard hunt that you could choose to do, which was significantly more expensive than any of the antelope, and frankly requires planning. You can't expect to do that.
$27,000 US.
And minimum it's usually minimum 7 days or 10 days because they've got to bait it.
They get
all
bait,
that sort of
right?
thing.
That's right. Yeah.
And they need to prepare long before you ever touch down in country to find where they
14 day. They recommend 14-day hunt for leopard or cheetah.
Is that right?
So because they basically want to find a leopard that they want to remove. That's the first thing, isn't it? Then they've got to.
Well, they've got to bait it to bring it in and then decide whether it's shootable.
Yeah.
And hide and
The topic of dangerous game. I mean, we saw rhinos as we were driving around, but I mean, they're predators. Even though the properties are fenced, they're not high fences, and even if they were high fences, it's nothing to a cat to jump in and out. It's more to avoid some of the other game hopping in. But the predators are there. We didn't see any. I'm sure we would have driven and stalked past some that were watching us. But
Clem was very worried about some one night when we were trying to track a kudu. He stupidly gave me the gun and said, "Here, you have this," because it's a bit rocky. I'm like, Absolutely. No, I took off in the other direction.
I had a bit of a brain fart that evening. So we were looking for this kudu that our third hunter had shot, and I sprinted up this hill, very rocky, ankle killer, we called it, and I had the gun, and by the time I got up the hill, I was exhausted and looking to give that gun away, and then it got dark. So Scott was a bit wiser there, and all I had was a tiny little finish knife that was more for decorative purposes. I carried it around.
Doing his nails.
The blade's probably about this big, and as I was walking back down this hill, I heard this grunting noise, and instinctively I've just gone for the knife on my belt, and I thought, if something jumps out at me, this thing is going to be fucking ridiculous. I don't even want to pull it out. I'll just embarrass myself. So thankfully, it was close by.
Was there any buffalo there, Scott, on the list?
Yeah, there would have been a buffalo. Maybe not on that list, but it could. Usually they're about, I think, 10,000, 5 to 10,000 US.
That's what I'd like. Yeah. I did like that wildebeest that you got. That was an ugly looking creature.
Blues are good. I've shot blues, shot blacks.
Yeah, no, there's no. They don't have a buffalo on this list. Yeah, the wildebeest is about as close as we got to a buffalo. But I mean, it's just. I mean, they were talking about leopard was not very far from where we were hunting, kind of the kudu, and it's a big property, and there was plenty of things that you probably could have asked to shot that weren't on the menu, and we only kind of stuck to what we saw there. We weren't going to venture too far off the reservation, as it were.
Sounds like a magic trip.
So, are you bringing other trophies coming back?
Oh yeah, but they'll take their time. So normally it's about 8 to 12 months to get the taxidermy done, plus permits to export them, plus 3 months shipping and all that. So actually, the last time I went was October 22, and I'm still waiting for the game that I took then to come, and we are in May 24. So that's still another 3 months away at least.
Yeah, we've spoken to a guy Craig Golding, who went, and he's actually going back. And he said, I think recently he posted it just arrived, so it was at least 12 months for him to come back. So
and even there, you've got options. What some people will do is they'll get the hides and they'll get the skins shipped over, and then they'll get it taxidermied locally in Australia. And I'm sure there's very talented people in Australia that can probably do a really good job, but we figured that Africans know their animals a lot better than we do, so they're likely to do a better job of it.
And it would be nice for it to arrive as a completed piece too. That that'd be
great.
Open up, there it is. Well, that'd be nice too.
And it's a nice memory, a couple of years later.
It's like, you kind of get the IKEA version. It arrives, but you still got to assemble the thing type of thing. No, you're getting the finished the finished picture.
Scott spent all the 4 days basically looking for his rug. He kept saying, because he wanted to shoot a zebra, and he wanted to get a nice rug, and in the end he goes, "This is a really far way to get a bloody rug. I could have gone to the store."
Oh, and you missed out. You could, if you're still chasing a nice rug, you could come to the territory with us. There's a couple of donkeys up there you could take.
Oh, Ian, I got my rug. Don't you worry, mate.
Oh, you got it.
I got it on the morning of the last day.
Oh, you got it.
If you want to hear a good Burris Eliminator story, I'll let you guess. How far away do you think I shot it? This is a guessing game.
Well, if it's going to be a good
I know,
story,
so I'm out. I know it.
550.
Jonno, 552.
Yeah,
wow.
552 meters.
That's a big shot.
Well done.
That's a long way.
Right.
Yeah.
Shot at sunrise and landed at sunset.
You got
every time we got close to these things, they were just bolt.
Gone.
So
Really?
Like we saw zebra most days. We had a glimpse.
The first animal you stalked.
Yeah, and it was just literally, you couldn't, once they started running, they don't stop. They'll run 30 kilometers, and we drove 25 kilometers trying to catch up to a herd of them to actually take a shot. But they just go, and through the roughest, most horrible terrain you've ever seen, and they go at pace. And you can't see the zebra. What you can see is the dust coming up, above the tree line. So you're looking for the dust, and then you're trying to follow the dust, and then, you got to pull the car up, get out, and stalk, and then they're still running, and they're still running, and they're still running.
So this one particularly, you managed to catch it before it saw you. You had 500 meters of distance.
Yeah, 552. We saw some the evening before, but it was just getting too dark. We could see through a thermal monocular. We could have reached out and patted it, but I wasn't prepared to take a shot under those conditions.
That was a moment where if we had a thermal scope, it would have really cinched the deal, because we had a handheld monocular. It's one of the new Steiner ones that they introduced. Works fantastic. We saw a pack of zebra about 300 meters away. By the time we got to within 100 meters, it was too dark to see it through the scope. Because although Scott was saying earlier that the Eliminator has gotten a lot better in the light transmission, when you add an LRF to a scope, you're losing 10-15% light transmission at minimum, regardless of the best technologies. And so what I could see plain as day through the thermal, at 70 meters, he couldn't see it at all through the scope, and so we had to try again the next morning.
But we did have a lot of fun, because the guide he was crying. We were all crying at that stage with laughter.
They try hard, those guides. They really try hard to get you your animal. So.
Yeah, our guide Louis was fabulous, and another shout out to one of the other guys, Ben. He was really great as well. But they really tried to get us exactly what we wanted. They were super fussy, like I said. You wouldn't go away disappointed. He was more. Our guide was more disappointed each day that we didn't get what we wanted than we were. We were like, we're just happy looking around. He was like gutted. I'm the best. I'm the most experienced guide. I'm the best guide here. I'm coming home empty-handed. It doesn't look good for me. And that's why he was keen to get out. When he heard that we were like get up early and go out hunting, he's like, I'm there.
Yeah, he was worried about coming back to camp and taking shit from the other guides that he wasn't getting onto the animals.
No, okay.
Yeah. So I still want to know more about this shot. Prone off the back of the ute, how are you positioned for this? You certainly weren't offhand shooting at 500 meters. And how did placement go for you at that? It's giving you the holdover points, but did it land where you expected it to?
I was. He told me it was like probably an inch and a half off a perfect shot, so I hit it just behind the shoulder.
Wow.
Exactly where he told me to hit it. You're using sticks, but like a front and rear stick. I hated the thing.
Yeah.
I
hate them too.
Basically, I think I smashed the rear stick. I think I broke his sticks, to be honest. I should buy him some new sticks, because
after the shot,
I got quite annoyed with his sticks and basically ripped the back half of the sticks off, because I didn't like the back half being cradled. And that's basically how you take your shots. And after you're usually running 1 to 3 Ks is usually, and the worst thing about it is you're not walking normally. You're crouching down behind him, holding a gun. So if you haven't been to the gym and done a lot of squats, you're going to be probably a little bit sore the next day. But fortunately, I like going to the gym and doing squats, so I was okay. But it still takes it out of you, when you have to go for a K or 3 Ks to take a shot.
Very good. It's a good story.
Yeah. I never thought zebra would be so hard to get, to be honest. I just wanted a rug.
Just, what's the name? Amazon. Zebra rug. There it is.
Well,
It's a bit different.
I think
We needed an ottoman to match the rug.
That's right.
But, I think one zebra was hard enough. He it wasn't game.
yeah, well, the guides, the PHs, did bring out some zebras the night before I got my zebra, and draped me in a zebra skin. So that was fun.
This is for good luck.
Yeah,
Some sort of ritual dance.
exactly.
Let's go with that.
You got it. Yeah, we're just going to leave it at that. We're going to leave it at that. Bit of mystery.
Okay, a little bit of mystery.
Clen's dying.
What goes on tour stays on
That's
tour.
right. Obviously, a dry event. That's it.
We'll hear more about this later. All right. The only other question that I had was, we talked about price. It seems like it's absolutely doable. A lot of the concern that people have when they're heading overseas, especially to Africa to do this sort of stuff, is the scams and the rorts and the danger and the all of that comes with Africa. Going as a corporate group, a lot of that's taken care of for you. But did you see any, dodgy goings on, on your way through this that you would caution anyone against? It was all really well taken care of. And it's probably why they escorted you all the way there, so nothing bad could happen to you until you left them.
Look, the dodgiest thing,
although I would say that
Joburg Airport getting trying to get scammed by the guys.
The British guys.
Asked for directions, and then he
And
wanted
the
a
taxi
tip.
guys.
Yeah, I think
Fortunately
Namibia is
enough,
not as wild as
It's
South
not.
Africa. When we went again a year and a half ago, we were hunting up on the northern tip of South Africa, and we basically passed through 3 or 4 police checkpoints. We were a big bus of hunters, and the police will stop you and basically ask you for money for safe passage, and it is shocking to me and probably to many people that grew up in Australia without broad exposure to corruption elsewhere. But when you've got the police asking you for a fee for protection, it's wild. So
Look, I think the best way you could put it is I would have no hesitation with my family coming with me to where we went.
Yeah,
The way we were looked after, picked up. There's really no room for anything funky to really go on. It's just completely safe. There's no way to put it. I didn't feel in danger or dodgy or anything the whole time that we were there.
no, it was really nice.
That's good to know.
I've been in Brixton and Cold Harbour Lane and felt that was far more dangerous than going to Namibia. So I was completely okay. I would have, I think my wife would have enjoyed sitting by the pool and catching some rays. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I was in Sri Lanka just after the Civil War, and if you didn't get asked for money by someone, you thought something was up. If you didn't get, if they were trying to scam you, you thought, hang on, they're planning a really super big scam now. They're lull us in a false sense of security. So, I mean, that's part of travel and part of life. So it's good that that was your experience. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, as I said, if anyone wants to know where we went, we'd be happy to pass on the details and recommend them.
Yeah,
more
I think we
highly.
might drop them in the description for the podcast.
I think we should definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys,
All right.
anything else from either you, Jonno, or Ian?
I grew up in South Africa, so I know what it's like to hunt in Africa. So yeah.
Now, if I'm going to fire
Just
up
good.
any more questions, it's going to be about shotguns, and I don't think everyone else wants to be here all night. So
That's right.
we'll leave that one alone for now. We might drag you back to discuss it a little bit more at some point. But I really appreciate you both coming on. Sounds like an amazing trip. Again, your sales meetings are better than my sales meetings, but there's always something to aspire to be, I guess.
I think they're better than everybody's sales meetings.
Seems that way to me. All right, good
Not
stuff.
fun if you don't go well though.
Hi.
So not so fun if you don't do well, though.
No, I suppose not. So they,
No.
if you don't see where they fly you, they say, "No, you got to get back yourself."
Yeah. They drop you off. No, guys.
That's right.
Enjoy.
No,
That's what
all
that
good.
second car exchange was. That's when they we'll keep them. We'll keep going. Okay, guys. Look, thanks for your time and also for the information, not only about Africa, but the equipment.
products.
It's been a rolling conversation for the last few podcasts, so it's good that you can clear some of that up, and also introduce some of the newer gear, especially around the Predator 6 and that secret Steiner scope that we can't
Eliminator
talk
6
about.
mark.
Sorry, no, I was thinking about the secret Steiner scope. We can't talk about that one. That was wrong.
We'll come back.
That one.
We can talk about it and give you. We can maybe give you an exclusive Australian preview.
Very cool. Very cool.
You hit it, yeah.
We do like that.
All right, guys. Good on you. Thanks again.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
See you guys.
Ciao.